So, Bernie, I think it's so interesting when you say that sometimes disinformation is not only connected with the content itself, but with the intention of the content, the context, and the emotion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, how can you define it for us a little bit?
Well, the thing is the way that we perceive the world, we kind of get a lot of emotions, we get a lot of affect first, and then we can use reasoning later to think about it. So a lot of the emotions hit us in the feels before they hit us in the head. This can, in psychological theories, they talk about motivated reasoning, for example, where people already have the motivations, and then they kind of figure out what reasons they're going to use to justify this, rather than I'm going to, with an even hand, look at all the possible options and deliberate on one. And so I think that's important, because if we're concerned with facts first, we might not be hitting people in the fields, and people will have an intuition. Maybe they think, oh, I don't like the way this guy talks, or they're from the other side or the other group, and already they've shut down their reasoning because they've started with the emotions first. So it's important for us to appreciate how people feel about what they see, and how that can condition whether they're going to critically evaluate it or whether they're just going to accept it uncritically.
Yeah. So, in a general sense, you think critical thinking has to do with emotion thinking too, or to critical emotion, I can say.
You might
Because
say that.
yeah, yeah, you must.
That's a
Yeah,
fascinating way. I think we need to be able to check our emotions when evaluating information, because it's very easy to play with our emotions. Both people who are trying to provoke us so that we take a harder stance than we really should, or people who are trying to seduce us so that we let down our guard.
yeah, yeah.
And in both cases, being able to kind of get a sense that someone is toying with your emotions can get you into a point, a mode where you can have that critical thinking. But most times we kind of go on autopilot with that, and yeah, I guess a sort of critical feeling might be something that's needed.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think we overestimate when we counter this information, we overestimate the facts itself and do not pay attention. I mean, in terms of strategies or tools to tackle actually the feelings and the intentions of the message itself.
Perhaps. I think what we really do is perceive the messenger as being inside of an in-group or an out-group. And when we use that to kind of get a sense of, and this is a concept I've been chewing with, but I can't say that I've got great empirical results yet. Some people have. But that we're really focused on sincerity and sincerity challenges. So if you'll read online when people are disagreeing with each other, they rarely talk about the facts of the matter. They don't say, well, if you look at this website, the policy document is this. They discredit people. They say you're doing this because you're on the take, it's for money, or you just hate those kinds of people. And the problem with that is that you end up assuming that your side is sincere, even when they might not be, and the other side is insincere, even when they might be. And so we end up taking shortcuts to thinking when we should be able to have a more even-handed way of seeing the other side, even if we disagree with it.
Yes, like look into your personal story a little bit. You came from Canada all the way to the UK to be a scholar, a prominent scholar. During this journey, did you face some situation that you can use an example exactly what you were saying, some political or some personal situation that it's around this information, but facing this more feeling side of the thing?
Of course, I have. I have family, and I have family in the UK. I've married into someone here, or well, back in the UK,
Yeah,
and not everyone voted to remain in Europe, and not everyone who voted to leave Europe did so with, I think, all the facts at their disposal. And so it's been a challenge to find out, how do we reconcile. How do I not bring this up at dinner, or when do I bring it up? What good is it for me to say, I told you so? I said goods were going to be more expensive, or the supply chains were going to slow down. Do I rub it in someone's face? And having to check my own emotions and see, how do I move on from that, now that we might say the damage is done, has been a real practical thing. Before the vote happened, it was frustrating to be able to say, there are some people who would make a really good case why this is a bad idea to leave the EU. but they will be, again, discredited. They'll say, oh, they're just saying that for the money. And so then I get thrown back at me a sincerity challenge. And so that makes it hard for me to have a kind of a sober debate on this and think about what's probably best for us in a long-term sense, and not what feels right because we've been, provoked to think it's, immigrants taking over the country or something else. And yeah, so it gets really personal when you try to care about people who are on a different side of political spectrum, and some of the things that they bring back are not really factual, and throwing them the facts doesn't work.
The feelings again.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Bernie. It
Thank
was
you.
amazing. Thank you.